From hearing about the UN's global goals straight to right here in New York City, we can learn so much from all the campaigns that are around us every day. I'm going to take you back with me about a year ago. You might have seen a campaign that really spoke to me. It grabbed me because it featured women's faces, but without a smile, without a mouth. Instead, with an autocomplete sign from Google. And you might have seen this, but it stuck with me, and if it stuck with you or haunted you, I'd love for you to meet the two people behind this. We would like to bring up to the stage Nanette from UN Women and Sami from Ogilvy, Memac, to talk about the UN Women Autocomplete campaign.
Thank you so much, Rachel, and good morning, everybody. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm not Sami, I'm Nanette. I'm working for UN Women, the UN organization mandated with advancing women's empowerment, women's rights, and gender equality globally. And as we've already heard, these issues are central to the Sustainable Development Agenda that UN colleagues spoke about earlier today. And they are so central because it's difficult to make progress when half of humanity is being left out. Or where the potential of half of humanity remains untapped. And it should be a no-brainer, but unfortunately it isn't yet. And we need to communicate about this. And we were very fortunate to have as a partner Ogilvy, the Memac office of Ogilvy, who developed a very powerful campaign for us. And Sami Moutran, who's with us from Ogilvy Memac, will now introduce this campaign.
Thank you. Sorry, can I just start by saying this is epic. I mean, wow. This is amazing. 4 days ago, I was invited to a management conference in Washington, D.C., and I had absolutely no idea I would be here. This is a small agency in Dubai. I'm an English Lebanese kid that's worked in the industry for about 12 years, and to be sitting here at the UN is just, like, I can't, I'm in awe. Just to give you guys a quick background as to who we are and why I'm here. We are Memac Ogilvy. We're part of the Ogilvy Worldwide Network. What we do on an annual basis is our creative council asks the creative teams in all 12 markets in the Middle East and North Africa to address something to do with social change. As creative industries, we think it's really important to kind of drive different types of creativity, and not just for the big brands in the world, but for the things that really matter. So a couple of years ago, the challenge was gender equality. Put a brief out there, what can people do about gender equality? And I think the team that worked on this, and this is kind of lends itself to being in the Middle East as well, a Lebanese guy, Lebanese young girl, another guy from Kuwait, I think there was an American and an Irish or something along those lines. And what they did is they said, what we all do, you're researching anything, you're going on holiday, you're going on a trip, whatever, the first thing you do is you get on Google and go, right, what do I do next? And Google helps you, right? So you type in the first couple of things and Google finishes it all for you. And we did the same thing for women, and it was absolutely incredible the results we got. You typed in women should, women shouldn't, women can, and women can't. And our office sat there going, this must be a Middle Eastern thing, right? This can't be global. So we contacted our offices around the world, and surprisingly enough, this was happening around the world. This was everywhere. I don't profess to know how Google runs their algorithm. That's kind of their thing. But what I kind of understand is that the more you put into the machine, that's what it gives you back. And so, I don't want to ruin the video, but we have a video that might explain it a bit better.
Women cannot rule.
Women should be slaves.
Women need to be controlled.
Frauen sollten zu Hause bleiben.
Las mujeres necesitan ser disciplinadas.
A new ad campaign launched this week by UN Women reveals that despite decades of global advancement,
Prejudice and discrimination towards women and gender equality still continues today.
It shows stark images of real, auto-completed Google searches
Over the mouths of women portraits, as if to silence their voices.
Online searches can reveal a lot about us as a society.
You go and search on Google and you'll see it for yourself.
These are real results. This is not something extrapolated.
People are already speaking out under the hashtag women should.
The online world has literally turned into this enormous UN forum for the people.
The autocomplete truth has become a viral sensation, capturing headlines across the world. Individuals and organizations are now creating their own versions.
If you haven't already joined the conversation on gender equality, this online video might just persuade you.
10-year-olds, 11-year-olds debating gender equality in classrooms. And I think that says a lot about how our schools are catching on.
Shocking results, and these were real, and this is really what they believed was the genesis of how it went viral, so to speak. It was about the imagery that was that could be transformed and distributed everywhere.
I think it drives to behavior very quickly, which is really powerful. This is not a campaign just for UN women, the organization. It is for us understanding each other more. So it has a larger, really powerful purpose.
Prosperity, stability.
Terrorist is extremist. To prevent them from getting a nuclear weapon.
Den Euroraum zusammenzuhalten.
There aren't nearly enough women round the cabinet table.
Universal rights apply to women as well as men.
Natürlich vor allen Dingen auch das Thema der Frauen.
L'égalité entre les femmes et les hommes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Are we switching to the PowerPoint now? I put together a few slides. Before I continue on the 2 or 3 slides that we have, something was said in the intro which I think really stuck with me. It is possible to capture the world's imagination, and I think that speaks a lot to what we did. Before I came, I was thinking as well, what can I say to this group of amazing people? And all I can really talk about, and all I'm going to talk about, is the perspective and advertising agency's point of view. How do we look at the world, and what can we add to the world? In the Cannes Festival of Creativity, which is our annual kind of summit and our annual pilgrimage to validation of how good we are as an industry, I should say, we were lucky enough to have Bill Clinton there a few years ago, and he said something which I really stuck in my head, and it has ever since. Channel your creative energy towards coming up with world-changing ideas. And I think it's really interesting, the terminology he used. He didn't say social good ideas. He didn't say really creative, great ideas. He said ideas that can change the world. And I think that kind of, again, is one of the things that we as an agency look at. What can we do? What's our role in the world? Creative agencies have this ability, and we saw the previous talk about storytelling. That's what we do. We have this ability to tell incredible stories, but what are we going to do with that ability? And I was speaking before, earlier this morning, to somebody about what I see as the 3 evolutions to our role in social change. And the first one was entities such as the UN Women talking to us about public service announcements and campaigns. They came to us and said, can you help? And I think the second one was creative agencies sitting there going, I've got a great idea. Where can I go and sell it, and which age? I think the third one, and this is the one looking at, and I've learned so much this morning, it's all kind of going in my head, but that vision for 2030. The third one has got to be brands taking charge. It's got to be the private sector, including the creative agencies, standing up and saying, we will drive the agenda, we will drive these issues, and you can support us doing that rather than waiting for you to come and talk to us about it. The second thing I want to talk about is content, and as an industry, we talk a lot about content. And why did this work? Because it was content that consumers wanted to spend time with. It was content that was interesting, it was easy to digest, and it was interesting. And I think, especially when you're talking about complicated topics such as social change, it's easy to get complicated with what you're trying to say. And I think the simpler we make it, the more digestible. You talked about, somebody earlier was talking about, people can create videos themselves on their phones. Everybody's a director now. Everybody is a director, and everybody's a photographer, and everybody's everything. We need them to want to talk about the issues we want them to talk about, and that's being able to generate this great content that people want to spend time with. The second one, sorry. Okay. The other thing I want to talk about is influence. when we launched this campaign, we were thinking to ourselves, all right, maybe a few people in Dubai, or even if we're lucky, the UAE, might actually look at this and be interested. But then we started realizing we got a lucky punch. Somebody picked it up here in America, and they started talking about it. And we thought to ourselves, wow, we might be onto something here. So we looked at these, what I call varying pillars of influence. And the first one is, naturally, the people that were talking about the issue of gender equality. How are we going to get this into their hands, and how are we going to make this campaign something that they want to talk about to help us drive awareness for the campaign? So we started identifying, and not just spamming them with an email going, hey, have a look. It was starting to have a conversation with people that were really interested. And the second one, and something I think maybe playing to certain people here, is we started talking to people that were talking about the creative industry, because we realized we were onto something that was creatively unique. And they were really a huge aspect of driving and pushing the conversation. And talking of conversations, and this was said a few minutes ago as well, learning to let go. I think that for me was the hardest part. We're in an advertising agency. We're very egotistical. We love our own work so much. We really do. But learning to let go, when that conversation started happening and started going, we are now a part of a conversation, not driving a conversation. When is that point when you put something into the world and say, okay, now world, you take it on. It's over to you. It's over to the consumers. It's over to the brands. And what was really hard was stepping away and going, we're going to re-engage in a conversation rather than drive a conversation. So for me, that's it. I'm going to pass over to Nanette. She's going to talk a little bit about the success of what this campaign did. So.
Thanks so much, Sami. I think what we are here for today, and what of course a challenge often is for us at the UN, is to spark a really global debate about the issues that we're working on, and to get people involved in the issues that we're working on. And we heard, for example, for the Sustainable Development Agenda, it means we really need the buy-in from 7 billion people in order to be successful and in order to achieve this agenda. And so I think it's important to see, how did this campaign work? And how was it so powerful? And I think it is very interesting to see that it worked not so much through the extra smart or funny slogan, or through the incredible visuals that were created. But in a way it worked because you guys managed to hold up a mirror to society to a certain extent. Because these Google searches reflect popular sentiment to a certain extent, obviously. And I think the campaign had real shock value, and that sparked the debate. I think people globally were indeed shocked at the extent of sexism, misogynist sentiments that were expressed, the extent of discrimination that is still so prevalent in society against women. And I think many people thought, in particular in developed nations, thought, well, we don't have to talk about these issues anymore. We have that often in particular with younger generations, younger women who think it may not be an issue. Well, here you saw how much of an issue it really still was. And people were simply shocked at it. And that sparked the debate. And I think what we had through this campaign, it was a debate that we had. It was a debate that we saw on social media. And if you just have a very quick look at some of the statistics, we had at least 500 media reports globally. We know we reached at least 50 countries, had reached 70 million people through 25,000 tweets, and had way over 500 million impressions. So I mean, just a snapshot of how far this debate really went and how it really generated a conversation about the issue, and that's exactly what we wanted to drive. Further than that, it also had, beyond media, it had a spillover effect to very diverse and new audiences. And I think that is another challenge, of course, that we always have also at the UN. How do we reach the non-converted? How do we reach audiences where we want to have the buy-in to the issues in between our particular case, women's empowerment, women's rights, gender equality? And it was incredibly encouraging to see how we had almost an organic growth of new constituencies. We were contacted by schools and universities who wanted to use it on their campuses. We were contacted by companies who wanted to use the posters for their diversity events. We were contacted by publishing houses for school textbooks, for other publications. So it was really encouraging to see how far this debate went and how far it will still live, for example, through school books, and we saw that in the film. And very interesting also, we have for the past 2 years been at all major NASCAR races and NFL games. And they contacted us after seeing this campaign and talk about the non-converted. I think when you talk about the NASCAR audience, it's an audience that is not normally particularly engaged around the issue of women's rights globally. So this is a fantastic venue for us. And it's very encouraging to see how the audience reacts and how we, within this new audience, really carry this debate further. And this is exactly, of course, what we've tried to achieve. And we thank Ogilvy for this. And we look forward, of course, to continue working together. Absolutely. And hopefully also with others here today in this room. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you both. From seeing the ads on bus shelters and billboards across this city and around the world, we together started to raise awareness for the voices of women that aren't being heard.